In this session, I need to focus on how we should think in developing our database or designing our database so that the database can support our web application development assignment. Now, what is the kind of assignment that is involved? It is an assignment that requires you to build a web system that allows students to log on to the system, create projects, create presentations, so that mentors who may not be in school or they might be actually working in another company can actually log on in order to comment on the students' presentation, comment on their PowerPoint slides, comment about their presentation flow, so that the students can actually keep on improving their presentation, how they can drive their ideas out to the audience. And all these can help both sides of the users to save their time. They don't need to find a common time, a common venue, sit down together, okay, let's hear out your presentation. That is very time-consuming process. So it is a web system that is totally designed to help these two group of people to benefit. One group of people want to help, another group of people want to learn, right? Then after that, there's another kind of user called the administrator. The administrator is actually a kind of user that will come in, log on in order to manage the user account if needed. Okay, so there are three kinds of users involved in this web system. Now, this web system requires a database to support its functionality. So right now, you notice that I'm actually focusing on the Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, and I'm actually going to right-click a new database. Then the database name, I'm going to call it Presentation Hub. Okay, then I'm actually going to click Add. So I have already added a new database, and the database is called Presentation Hub. Now, this database is actually for the purpose of storing records, and these records should be able to help support the web system functionality. But in order for us to go and store meaningful information inside this database, we need to go and delve into what are the necessary tables involved. That's why you really need to go through the WebA assignment specification. You think right that you can actually just simply whip out a database and then design the tables in order before you can even start coding. You have to go and come up with the tables first. If you can't come up with the tables, I see how you code, right? Not only you have to come up with the tables, you need to go and experiment the SQL involved. So based on the assignment specs, the first table that I will actually need to go and explore is the user table. Just now I mentioned regarding there are three types of user. So there must be a user table, and definitely this table will have the user record ID. And then after that, definitely there's a data type of int, and it should have a user ID field because they will actually log on by using the user ID, and probably the user ID based on the assignment spec, maybe it will say that your user ID should be your unique email address. Well, so be it, never mind. Then after that, should there be any password? Yes, there should be a password, right? And the password should be something like a voucher. Then after that, this one is 100. Okay, then anything else besides the password? Then what about full name? No, sometimes when you log on, then you would like to go and greet the person by his name or by his avatar name, right? So this one, the full name is, because this system is a more serious system to help people to improve, so a full name is more appropriate, so that we can provide respect by greeting the person with the full name. Agree or not? So you notice that database design is not just database design. You have to think from the user end. You have to find out whether or not the information is really meaningful and helpful to the user. So probably this one I'll just put voucher 200. Then anything else, right? Of course, the first field is definitely a primary key field, and definitely you need to consider it as an identity key specification field. So I'm going to save this table. I'm going to save this table as the user table. So I have already defined a new user table, and I would like to go and take a look whether this table is really useful enough. So I want to go and create some test record. Let's just say that the user ID is Roger at for example hotmail.com, and the password I'll just put Roger password so that it is easier for me to remember and test. And the full name I'll just put Roger Tan Ho Kai. Okay, so I have already defined a new record, and this record is describing Roger. right? Now let me try to define a second record, Susan and hotmail.com, right? Then after that, this one is Susan password, okay, Susan password, and this one is Susan swimming, okay. So in other words, I've already defined a second record called Susan. Now let me define another record, maybe like for example Ronnie Pay at sp.edu.sg. so this is Ronnie, and then this one I'll just put Ronnie Pay password, right? Then after that, this one I'll just put Ronnie Pay, right? Okay, so I've already described the third record that described Ronnie Pay. Now when you are actually dealing with the test records, notice that I'm actually providing test records. By providing test records, in my mind, I'm actually simulating that if I want to allow the administrator to add user record, what kind of web form should I want the user should have? It should be a add user web form. So you start to go and grab a piece of paper and start drawing out a web form that will help the administrator role user in order to add user record, right? This is what you should do. You don't just do one thing at a time. There are a lot of things to do. You think Web A have a 6 and 7 credit point for nothing? Okay? Now, so then after that, take a look at this one. Susan, Roger, Ronnie. You know that from our human eyes, these are probably student records. And this one is actually a lecturer record, a mentor, right? But is this user table enough in order to go and describe the role of the user? Seems like something is wrong somewhere. Yes, of course. You need another table. And what is that table? That table probably it is called row record ID. And this one I'll just put int, and this one I'll just put row type, and this one I'll just put varchar, and I'll just put 100, right? So I will set this one as primary key again, and I ensure that this one is actually an identity key specification field, okay, right? So I've set it, and I'm actually going to save this table as the row table, right? Or user row table. Probably user row is better, right? User row table. So I've already created a second table called the user row. So let us take a look. What can user row do for me, right? Can I specify that one is actually a student, right? Can I actually specify two is actually a mentor? Can I actually specify the third as an administrator, right? So in other words, I have three rows. Now how can I get these these two tables, the user row table and the user table, work together? Notice that there's no linking between them. That is where I noticed that the user table needs to have a new field. Do you know why or not? Because take a look, user table is describing users, but it needs the user row in order to fully describe that a user is either a mentor or a student or an administrator. So I need a field inside the user table to reference the primary key field of the user row table, right? That is actually what is happening inside my mind. So I need to go and have a user row record ID. Agree or not? A user row record ID, or so right now I will actually just put an int here, right? So I've already defined my fifth field, right? And I will actually quickly save it, right? Then after that I will actually take a look, right? So notice that this is not this one. I'll just right click and edit again, right? So notice that right now, if I want to describe Roger as a student, it should be 1. If I want to describe Susan as a student, it should be 1. If I want to describe Ronnie as a mentor, it should be 2, right? Is it correct or not? Yes, it is correct from our human eyes, but what is the SQL involved? So you need to go and test, right? Select for example the full name, right? Then after that maybe the user ID from what? From the user, right? Then after that also from the user row, right? Where what? Probably where the user dot the user row record ID, right? Equals to what? Equals to the user row dot what? Dot row record ID. So is this good enough or not? Is this good enough or not? Let me see. This is the user row record ID, and this one is the user row table. It is row record ID. So if I actually just execute this one right now here, it says that incorrect syntax near keyword user. Why? Select full name, comma, user ID from user. Yes, it is user. How come there is an error? Because there's an incorrect. Oh, how can there be any error? Right? It's correct word, right? Unless this is actually a reserved word. Unless user is actually a reserved word. Notice that? Unless user is really a reserved word. So maybe I should rename my table to something else. So I will actually go back to the, I will actually try to go and rename, and I will rename it as for example, the system user. Would that be fine? I'm renaming the table as a system user. So this one, I will actually change it to system user to see whether or not it is acceptable. Yes, it's acceptable. So this one should be system user, right? So this one should be system user. So now you notice that the fields, right? This one is called user row record ID, and you take a look at the field of this one. This one is user row, and this one is row record ID. Sometimes it can be confusing, so it is time for you to go and rename, right, so that it is actually more helpful in our coding part. So this one should be user row record ID. We try to go and match so that we can see some relationship. And this one, row type, maybe I'll just put user row type, right? So notice that I try to go and make the field names as meaningful as possible. So so this one is called user row record ID. So let us actually test this SQL. You notice that I can actually show the full name and the user ID, but is SQL helping me in showing which row this user is? So let me actually test out. Why not? I'll just put the user row type, right? User row type is the one that is actually holding the row information or the row description. Take a look, right? This is the user row type. So let us test out this SQL, right? Now from this SQL, are the two tables really working together to fully describe a user? Yes, yes. So let us actually make the experiment or the research more complete by providing, for example, let's say Clarence, right? Clarence at sp.edu.sg, and he is being arrowed, unfortunately, by drawing lots as the administrator. Okay, so this one, Clarence password, right? And then after that, this one is Clarence, right? Right, Dr. Clarence and after that, this one is actually 3 because he's an administrator, right? How come no row updated? Oh, because user row record ID, by right it should be updated. It says the index out of range might be not negative value, but never mind, I will just close this one. Oh, because this user, right, I renamed the table. Notice that I renamed the table. So I'll just escape a bit, and I'll just close, and I'll just open again. Okay, system user is called system user now, right? So from here, I also learn new things, right? For this SQL Server version, right, the user table is actually probably is the user keyword is actually a reserved word. So this one, let me repeat. So this one is Clarence at sp.edu.sg, and this one is Clarence again, password, and this one is Clarence, Dr. Clarence, right? Okay, Dr. Clarence, and this one is 3 because he's an administrator. Okay, right? So then after that, anything I hope the test records have convinced us that the design of the user table, system user table, and the user row table is quite stable, right? Are these the only fields required? I am actually warning you, no. You see, every time this is why I always afraid of learners, is that they try to go and use their own way of learning things, which I don't blame them, because when I was young, I also use your technique, trust me. But right now I'm old, and if I were given a second chance, I will definitely improve my technique if I were given a second chance. right now probably my income is tripled. Okay, now you see there's a very important field that you need to go and put. Do you know what is that? That is called the let's just say that delete date. I just give you one thing called delete date. Notice that there's a delete date. I've already provided the delete date and probably a delete date time as well, and this one is probably a date and time field. Right, now what is this field for? You see, do not assume that just by going through web A, listen to lecture lessons, right, do a few practice, you can do enough for the web A assignment. I can tell you one thing, web A assignment is not a spoon feed session. You ask lecturer, I tell you, you can come, you can ask for lecture, can you give me half an hour so that blah 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 and all this stuff to go and do this, do that. It's impossible. It's totally impossible. Right, unless the lecturer have 5 hours with you, or else it's totally impossible. 1 hour will not make any difference. You have to research. You have to prove to me that you have researched and you have failed, so that I can guide you. Okay, now take a look at this one here. Notice that right now I have actually added a new field called the delete date. What is it for? What is it for? Right, and actually it is not supposed to be actually it is not supposed to be now. It should be something else, right? It should be something else. But well, anyway, I'm just trying to tell you that normally when we delete record, the record was never physically deleted. What I'm trying to say is that if I actually, let's say for example right now, I go and delete what? Delete from system user, right? System user, where the user record ID equals to 4. What is the consequences? The consequences, if I execute it, one row is affected. So in other words, what? In other words, if I refresh this one, clearance is gone. Correct or not? So this is what we call a permanent delete. Means that it is a physical delete. It is a, we will not be able to go and recover back. But normally in an actual system, you don't really delete a record. It is only just marked as deleted. Marked as deleted means that, like for example, let me put this one in again. So this one is clearance at sp.edu.sg, and this one is actually the clearance password, and this one is actually the doctor clearance again, right? So I'm putting in the thing, and this one is actually 3. So if I want to mark as deleted, your web functionalities, the functionalities that you built in on the web form, it should mark this record as something like it is deleted on the 19th of what? On the 19th of May, and this one is 2012. This is what it should be done. And notice that by checking the date time, it says that string is not recognized as a valid date time. So this is a date time field, and you notice that this is not a valid date information. Why? You must test the system. Your laptop may support this information, but my laptop may be May of 19. It may be in this format. Notice that so this is actually, so my format is let me see, it's a month, day and year, right? So when you actually let's just say that I have a web form and I selected clearance and I click delete. I'm not really deleting, I'm actually updating this field, marking it as deleted on this date on a particular time. So what is this one? If I actually have deleted it on the 19th and the time is actually 12 past 11, so what is this one? So this one should be 11, and this one should be 12, and this one should be some seconds and milliseconds. Okay, right? So that if in the future I would like to go and find out from the database, when did I delete clearance? Oh, okay, I deleted clearance on this date. So in other words, in the future, will the clearance information being shown out in the web forms? No. Why? Because it has already been marked as deleted. Okay, right? So then, in other words, this is the role and responsibility of the delete date time. And normally, in order for, so there are a lot of arguments, right, that besides the delete date time, I should have another field called is marked as deleted, right? Something like this. And this one should be a let me actually take a look. This one should be a either it is a bit, right? Either it is a bit, right? Means that it's either 0 or 1, or normally I will just put tiny int, right? Bit also can. Bit means either 0 or 1. Tiny int, I'll just use it for testing purposes, right? Because I'm still learning. So what does this tiny int means? That I just use this field with a lower range of number values. Let me actually just right click and edit rows, right? So in other words, if Clarence is marked as deleted, so this one should be what? 1, and the rest is what? 0, because they are not marked as deleted. So every time when a new record is created, by default the value here is 0. If it is marked as deleted, it should be 1, and we should update the date and time of the deletion here. Okay, so usually in all tables, right, there should be delete date, time, and there should be is marked as deleted. Now any other fields besides this one? Yes, there is, right? Last semester I talked about this. All students just use delete date time is marked as deleted. No students actually come up with what? Create date time, right? Then after this one is date time. So then after that, right, do I need is marked as created? No, right? It's just a creation date time. Means that this one is just to go and store when was the record being created. In fact, I can actually also set here that that in the future I will just tell the database that please provide a default value. So how am I supposed to go and set that? So notice that this one is the column properties. The default value, probably I will just need to go and provide today, right? Can I put today? I don't know. It says that invalid what? Error validating the default column. So today is not a good thing. Is there anything called date? Right? Would that be good? It says no. So I want to learn from the Google, right? How to go and set default, right, date for default current date for date time field, right? So you notice that I'm also learning. Not to say I don't know lah. I know. It's just that it has been a long time since I dealt with it. So default. So you see, some other students also or some other learners also are trying to go and seek knowledge from the internet, right? So right now this one, it says that, oh, it's called get date, right? Default is get date. Okay, let me actually try get date. Let me see whether it is a good way of dealing with it. So I'll just put get date, right? Let me see whether you complain. Please don't complain. I don't have time anymore to can work. Okay, so I save it. Let us actually experiment. Right, so I will actually right click on the user and I edit top 200 rows. Right now, you see, I painfully created all these test records. Of course, I don't want to lose it, right? So normally I will actually start off with Excel, and then I will save this one as or I'll just paste. Okay, I'll just refresh. Right, you notice that every time when a new record is actually being created, notice that there's a default. There's a default date information for this field, right? So this is the full feature of, I mean, you need to explore all the available functionalities of your database SQL Server Management Studio. It's very, very powerful. You notice that if I never research into this, I have to go and write C# code to go and provide value for this. No need, right? So of course, right now this one is not marked as deleted, and this one is the delete date time. So delete. So let me delete this one. Right. So I hope you truly understand that besides the normal fields that you have learned inside your usual practical sessions, your practice, there are a lot of things that is not taught in Web 8 that is waiting for you to discover. Oh, there's delete date time. So what? Lecturer did not tell me. Go die. Okay. Then after that, this one is what? It's marked as deleted. Then after this one is what? Create date time. Right? How are you going to use your web form to support all these things? Actually, right, the code that I have taught you, right, is enough for you to go and deal with this one. It's more towards whether or not you want to go and make the next step. Okay. Right now, so I've already finished discussing regarding the system user. Is it complete? Let me ask you, is it complete? I tell you, I will never give full answer. right? I will never give full answer. I last time gave full answer and I harmed the entire cohort. So don't ask me what happened, right? I will never give full answer, right? Deal with it yourself. Now, let us actually deal with other things. Now, you notice that inside the specification, right, there before a person can actually add presentation information to allow other mentor to comment, they need to go and create a project first, right? So I will need to have a project record ID. And after that, the data type is int, and of course I will definitely need a project name, and the varchar sometimes is quite long, so I'll just put 300, right? And then probably I'll just need a project description, and this one probably the description is quite fantastically long, so I'll just give 1000 anyway, no need money one. But anything else? Probably that's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. I'll just set it as a primary key. I don't define all the fields. You don't do things. What I'm trying to say is that you don't try to go and spend too much time trying to go and think about what are other fields, etc. and all this stuff, right? Now I ask you one thing: do I need the delete date time here? Do I need is marked as deleted here? Do I need creation date here? If I ask you this, do you need it or not? You think about it lah, okay? Right? I'm not going to supply the answer. Now, besides this one, after the new table, then I will actually need another one called the presentation table, right? So this one, I'll just put the presentation record ID. Then after this one is int, and this one is called what? Presentation. Probably there will be a YouTube link, right? Correct or not? So probably this one I'll just put varchar 200. Then anything else? Oh, this presentation record belongs to which project, right? Correct or not? So I will need the project record ID here as well, and this one is int. And anything else? Probably I will need to go and put presentation comments, right? Because the person who placed the students, after they recorded their presentations, they would like to go and put in comments like based on the previous comments of Dr. Clarence or Mr. Tan or Miss Kim Ying or Miss Liu Qin Chuan, the DISM course chair, etc. and all this stuff. They provide comments, then after that you react on the comments, and you would like to go and tell them that at what recording second, minute and second, this is the changes, and hope that you can see the changes and make comments. So presentation comments is a very valuable field, so I'll just put, for example, 500, just to see whether it is good enough or not. Any other things? Well, there can be other things. Any other fields? Right, probably like, for example, maybe I would like to go and put PowerPoint slide. What is this? What is PowerPoint slide? And what is the data type for this? It could be something as terrible as let me take a look. Binary 50 is not very good, but it could be an image file. Means that I can store a PowerPoint slide inside a record. You know that you can store a file inside a record, okay? Right, so it could be a PowerPoint slide, and then after that I will actually just set as primary key, and I will actually just for example, remember to go and set it as an identity key field. So this is actually the presentation table, right? Presentation table. So in other words, this presentation table is one project will have as many more than one presentation type to it. So let us actually test out the project table. Is it in the correct design or not? How to go and test out? You must learn how to go and provide test record. Let's just say that a team of students have logged on and created a project called Project A. This Project A is for is to prepare them for certain important events and competition, and this one is the description of Project A. So this one is description of Project A. In other words, you must have a web form that has the how come this one say that? Oh yes, because I totally forgot to set the first column as the identity key type field. So let me actually set the project ID, record ID. Okay, right, so I set it, and let me actually come back to here and let me refresh this one. So if this one is, you must have a web form that allows the user to go and describe the project, right? Description of project A. So this is a web form that you must help the user to do. So the students will describe a project and a description for project A. After the students have used a web form to describe a project, your web application must have the proper navigation, right, with the help of maybe grid views or dynamically generated links, right, hyperlink, that they click here, click there. Eventually they can actually add a presentation record, right? Eventually they can add a presentation record, means that they have done a presentation for this project. Their very first presentation, they have done their presentation. So what is their presentation? So they may provide their YouTube link here, right? YouTube link could be something like this, right? YouTube, right, .com. Then after that, okay, so maybe like for example, I have done a presentation. Then after that, I go to the video manager, and this is actually assuming that this one is actually one of my presentation video, right? And then after that, I will just try to go and get the YouTube link out. Then immediately, you must have a web form. You are not going to let the student to use the SQL Server Management Studio to go and put the YouTube link information. The web form must have a text box to allow the student to put in the YouTube link, right? Then this presentation belongs to which project? I should put 1. Do you know why 1 or not? Because the project is the project is record is what? The project record is 1, right? Correct or not? Then after that, what is the presentation comments? So this one I'll just put comments for presentation A.1, right? A, so that I can link up that, oh, okay, this one is presentation for project A. Then PowerPoint, maybe the student did not upload the PowerPoint, he forgot to do so, so it remains now, right now. Then after that, let's just say that 2 weeks later, he put in another recorded YouTube or his presentation. Then after that, it also belongs to the first project. And then after that, this one is comments for presentation A.2, something like that. And this time he probably remembers to upload a version of the PowerPoint. But you cannot just I can't create a PowerPoint just like that by copy and paste like that inside the SQL Server Management Studio. So how do you save PowerPoint files, Word document files inside SQL Server database? How? Please, before you come, right, definitely I'll ask you one question. What keywords have you used inside Google? Right, think twice before you come for me. So this one is what? C#. Then after this one is what? ASP.NET. Right. Then this one is what? Upload what? Upload PowerPoint. Upload PowerPoint to what? SQL Server database. Do you think if I put this one, go or not? Go or not? What is this one? What is this? Go or not? Got resources, you know. Right. And you are supposed to go and learn. You are supposed to go and understand the code. You are supposed to go and draw out your understanding. And how come this one is so slow? Okay, while waiting, then I come back to here. Right. So in other words, this is the second project. I forgot to. Never mind. I hope I've made my points clear. Right. Just now okay. So so this one is the new record. So right now, based on the design of the presentation table and the project table, is the project table and the presentation table working together to fully describe a project, and there are more than one presentations that belongs to the project? Yes. But is the project table and the presentation table correctly designed or not? Is it enough or not? Are these enough or not? Please lah, it's not enough. Right? Does this table say that this project is created by which user? It should say, right? Created by who, right? Correct or not? Then after that, this one created by who? Then this one should be int, right? Do you know what int or not? So let's just say that, right, that this project, right? Let me actually just close this one. Right, so this one is a project, so I just edit. So this one is created by, let's just say that project A was created by a student who log on, and the student who log on is actually let's say that Roger log on and he created project. So what is his user record ID 1, right? So in other words, your web A, your assignment, your system should actually somehow or the other capture the information that this project is created by Roger, right? So that if in the future I want to go and come up with an SQL, that's why the SQL is what, select, right, full name, comma, then after this one I'll just put the project name, right, from what, from say system user, comma, project, right, where what, where the system user dot user record ID, right, equals to what, a system user, I think, okay, equals to the project dot what, dot created by, right? I hope my SQL is correct because I'm quite tired right now. I execute. Notice that Roger does indeed the person who created project A. So the SQL must function correctly. You must test the SQL one to go and find out whether your project is indeed designed carefully, right? And besides created by, should there be anything else? Again, I'm not going to give you the full answer. You must test it out. That's why I say that this assignment is 10 times harder than your D-cell assignment. I tell you one thing. You try to go and push this one to last minute, you are dead. Very, very dead. Okay? So how many tables are there in order to go and support the Web A assignment system? Let me share with you. Definitely not 4 tables. So if your table design and your testing records are not good enough, do you know what is the consequences? Your credit point will drop. Okay? And also I would like to go and highlight to you one thing. Right? This is a very important thing. Notice that the way I actually provide the test records, how am I able to go and provide the test records? Because I read the assignment spec. I keep on checking whether my database design can support the assignment or not. I read it. How many people downloaded the assignment spec and read it? You must shoulder the consequences. Take up the responsibility. Read the assignment and print it out. Okay? Thank you very much. Mr. Emo out. Bye-bye.